Okay, so here are all the parts that make up the Barbatos, um, separated and all that stuff. All the whites, the yellows, blues, reds. The neon green is somewhere around here for the face, and all the charcoal and brownish colors and light brownish colors are here on this side. The whites, I gave it a good a good wash after I sanded it down. Removing all the nub marks and all that stuff, making sure they're nice and clean before I put them on. I also washed those guys and those guys, sand them down, use a 400 grit, use 1000 grit to smooth it out. I also I began to do what I've seen people do a lot, which is taking the scribing and begin to lightly scribe in areas to, I guess, to enhance the part, to allow the paint to draw, the panel lining paint to go through. And I was planning to do some scribing myself, but I guess while I was doing this, I was, I guess, a little nervous. I don't know why. I made a mistake on a part which took me a while to get, like the sanding sticks, the sanding sponges, and sand it down so you don't see the scar mark. It's not noticeable. It wasn't in a part where I believe was one of the back skirts, but I was I said, you know what, no, I can't do this. Maybe I'm not ready for this yet. I want to be ready. I know there are people who do like practices on older kits, and I have some older kits that I could easily work on. These are things that, of course, I want to try. I was going to do it on this guy, but maybe I'm not 100% ready yet. Plus, who wants to see me start scribing a weird circle or something like that if it doesn't come out right and I mess it up? I've already messed up this year with a kit. I don't feel like messing up with this kit. I know risks can be taken, of course. That's part of the name of the game with building kits. But I just don't feel like doing that this year. All right, being a little cautious. But no, once I took care of that, I started taking apart this guy, and some of the parts that are here, I had to take it apart again on the inner frame. I could have easily painted it from the inner frame, but I took it apart because I needed access to those chrome hydraulic parts, and I was able to take off a lot, but some I could not take off. And for example, this part here, which goes from the neck back, I took this off, and I'm actually going to put some masking tape on this so I can protect the metal part of the chrome finish on this. I don't feel like painting it, even though the chrome is very nice and smooth, so why damage it? So I'm going to be masking it off. I already did a mask off with this guy right here. This is one part that is in the middle of the body, and you really need to pop out many layers just to get to the chrome part in here. So what I did was I took the masking tape and I wrapped it around this so I can protect it. Some I can do, and I'm going to do this in a few moments. Others I could not. For example, this part of the leg. I was able to remove the back part here, but this part I could not, because again, this is several layers. You have to pop that open, pop that open, pop that open just to get to that. And I can't like extend it out where maybe I could shimmy it out, or maybe I can bend, but I may break this and damage this. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut up some masking tape. I will mask on this side, wrap it around it from the back under here, and then I'll mask off the tip, the edges here, which of course I think I may not do that. I'll leave that alone, but I will get my photo etch parts. I do have, I believe, a small one that can actually go on that on both ends, and they'll act, as a detail for that. That may be a cool idea to try. I don't think I have any other parts that will do that other than what's on the leg. The arms I already removed, the chest part I removed, and there's no hydraulics on the waist unit as well. So that's an idea. I may like, if I have to put it back on the arms, I'll maybe put some photo etch parts. I do think. Let me look at that arm again. Now that I'm talking out loud, like here, there's these parts here, the little hole. Maybe I can put a photo etch part there as well, so it'll work out with this. That would be a good idea. I just don't know how much is going to be exposed with the armor, but we'll discover that later on. This one I can probably put a photo etch part in there, but I'll wait until I finish painting, so I can put it in. It'll be covered up with the part, but that's an idea right there. I don't know what you guys think. Should that be a cool idea? Regardless of the case, we're going to begin. I'm going to begin cleaning up the table a bit, getting my cardboards out, and mixing up some primer, and begin priming the Barbatos. Before I begin priming, I wanted to take time to do a little bit of maintenance work on my Neo airbrush from Iwata. I think I discussed this in a couple of, about last month, that I was checking all my airbrushes, making sure everything worked fine. And I have 3 Neo Iwatas. The one that you see here is the one that's damaged. I purchased a CN nozzle 0.35 millimeters for this. And to show how damaged it is, let's remove this part first. I don't know if this can be shown in this. Let me see if I could take a look at it. Here we go. So I'm going to zoom in. I don't know if that can be seen. I'll try to get the lighting right. But here there is a kind of a split where the nozzle is. There it is. I don't know how that split happened, but it did. And I'm going to do a little test here to show you what happens when I use this airbrush. Going to remove the nozzle here, this hose, put it on this. Turn this on. Now, if I spray it, hold on a second, I feel air coming out as I push down on the rocker. So you think, okay, air's coming out, fine. I take a little bit of thinner, just a little, and then I'm gonna spray. And as you can see, nothing comes out. Nothing at all. If I I forgot. What do you call it? The needle on this is too long, so if I hit it, I get stabbed. Let me see if I could do this. Okay, no. I guess it doesn't bubble up a bit. But it won't come out, even if I remove the actually, you know what? I forgot to squeeze this back. Oh, I'm sorry. Then that could be the reason why. So see, I can do that, but if I press down to spray, nothing comes out. If I remove the needle out, and it'll still bubble up, but something comes out. So I was under the impression that it had to be the nozzle itself, because I also did a switch. I took a good nozzle from one airbrush, put it on this airbrush, and then reversed it, and that airbrush worked, but the other airbrush did not. So now, removing this, zoom in a bit. Take the built-in tool, the tool that comes with your Neo airbrush, and remove the nozzle. Yeah, there is a split there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's there, all right. So now let's open this up. This nozzle retails around 15 to 20 bucks. I ordered this online so it can be delivered to my house. I could have easily driven over to, a Hobby Lobby. They would have this. But I said, let me just have it delivered. Don't feel like driving to some place to get it. This does have a gasket. Just turn it a bit. There we go. Once you feel a little resistance, stop. The last thing you want is to damage this. This is a very long needle. This thing is very pointy. However, now that I put the nozzle in, I'm going to push it in a bit and close it. Now I don't feel the needle, and that's because, remember that this nozzle, where I put it, must have been split, and it was coming out. I'm gonna put it in here. Now let's test it out. I'm gonna take a little bit of thinner and take a piece of paper here. Start it up. Now it's coming out. Actually, it'd probably be a lot easier if I did this, and it is coming out smoothly. Oh yeah. I should take like a something else to test it out, but I'm not going to waste paint on this just so you can see it smooth out. So this now is officially fixed. Let's begin painting my kits. Alright, so I just finished priming the Barbatos and I assembled the inner frame. Looks really neat. Nice and smooth. Here are the parts that I've already covered up. Bent the legs a bit so that way I can get the inside, but I have a feeling that when I begin painting I'm going to have to bend it all the way, but that means I have to remove the back part of the masking tape, which by then I think I'll paint the back first, because I know that's going to be done. Pretty much paint the entire leg and then remove the masking and then bend it all the way so I can paint the inside of this, so that way it shows through. I've kind of been realizing that when I paint my kits, the one thing I always keep forgetting is the joints, especially when you bend an arm or a leg or a knee or something that you bend, and then you always forget one part or something behind it that was part of the design, and you say, oh, God darn it, why didn't I paint that part? So I'm trying to get everything in order and make sure I cover all my bases there. But I finished painting all the parts. Here's the darker parts. Here's other darker parts. I have the white parts here on the side. All the white parts, which of course I took my time to review them again, because even though I sand down the parts, some parts you miss, and you say to yourself, oh darn it, I'm going to have to resand them again. So you resand them again, you reprime them again, see if you get it right. Hopefully I did. But that's the price, to make sure that you get it nice and even and smooth. I also took one of my bottles of actually, let me show you this little box here. This is the G03N Gaia Notes Goods Series 03 spare bottles in recipe box. Well, basically I remember getting this pack of 4. I forgot how much it was, and I think I'm probably gonna get my hands on a few more later on as time progresses, so that way I can put some paint inside and have it pre-thinned. For example, I pre-thinned this primer. I gave it about this amount of paint, while a third to a little bit more than that of thinner, and began shaking it so I can get a nice, even flow. Somebody commented on this on my on a couple of videos back, and I apologize if I don't remember your name, if I didn't pronounce it. I have it with me right now, but I'm giving you credit for it, and you know who you are. Where it's probably a good idea to pre-thin your paints, whether it's primer, whether it's paint, and in a separate bottle, and then once it's nice and smooth, then pour it into the reservoir of your airbrush so you can spray paint it out. And it's been working well for me. When I prime, because before I would have to, I pour the amount of primer inside the reservoir, then I take thinner, put it in, then using a stirrer, I have like a dozen stirrers here, but I use the stirrer, I stir it in there, and then of course I hold down the front part of the nozzle of the airbrush and then let it bubble in there so I could do another mixture. And when you spray, sometimes it'll come out okay, and then you'll notice clogging for whatever reason, and that has happened to me many times. Sometimes I see it flow up too much to the point where it comes out watery, and then I said, okay, I kind of went a little too far with that. This time I've tried to get the consistency right with this, and you have to play with it a bit, because sometimes you have to find the right consistency, and then once you find it, then you're good. So I got this bottle ready. I have one here that I used a while back, and I don't remember what color this is. I believe it's white. I may have to end up dumping it and then wiping it, and I'm going to probably turn it as a white bottle. This will probably be the darker color tones, red, and so the 3 colors that I have that I'm going to be using the least, which is going to be yellow, blue, and red. I don't have to kill myself using these bottles yet. For starters, I only have 4, so I'm only going to be using the bottles for paint that I'm going to be painting a lot. Primarily the white, the off-white, and what was the other? And then of course the Titan's blue, or a darker color tone. So that way I can pre-thin it, put it in the bottle, shake it, make sure, and then mark it, and then apply it onto the kit, and then keep whatever I have left over will be for another kit in the future. But for these guys, I'm just gonna do what I always do: pour some in the reservoir, or I always pour the thinner first before the paint. So do the thinner first before the paint. That will sometimes work. And then make sure you mix the thinner inside. Give it a good stir before you put the paint in, and then stir that, and then that comes out good. So yeah, that's an idea that I'm going to be planning to do in the future. Just get some bottles prepared, and see if I can get myself hands of other bottles. On a side note, I have a feeling in the next few weeks or so, we're going to probably be getting announcements for sales, obviously for Black Friday sales, Christmas sales, and things like that, specifically from Gundam Planet, and of course Hobbylink Japan. So if I see a good sale this holiday, and for bottles and some sort of containments for me to use for mixture, I think now it's time for me to get myself a beaker. I always see the beakers, but I've always been worried about using plastic beakers. I don't know if plastic beakers are the way, or maybe I should just use glass. What is your thoughts on that? I mean, should I just get a plastic, or any beaker whatsoever? One time I purchased one of those these little cups, like sipping cups for $1, and I remember pouring thinner inside, and that that cup, part of it disintegrated. So I said, okay, I can't use paint on this. So that was not a good idea. Acrylic, yes, but not not lacquer base. Yeah, that was not a good idea at the time. All right, let me prepare for painting.